Section 2. Working with important libraries in R. In this section, we will cover the overview of the features and some advanced libraries in R, the apply family of functions, the dplyr package, and working with the data table package. At the end of this section, you will be able to appreciate some advanced functionalities that are there in R. Overview of the features and advanced libraries in R. In this video, we will look at the functional programming, some of the examples to understand the importance of the functional programming, and then the motivation behind using the functional programming. Let us move on. What is functional programming? Functional programming is something that provides utilities for the creation and the manipulation of the functions. Now, let us understand the concept of functional programming with the help of an example. Here, we start with a sample dataset, which looks something like this. It has 6 columns and 6 rows. And as we can see, here we have minus 999 appearing in here. As we can see, we have minus 999 appearing in a lot of places. This is nothing but an indication of the missing value. Now, our task is to remove these minus 999s and replace them with the actual NAs. Let us see how we can do this. So this is the traditional way of doing this. Now imagine that we have to do this for all of the columns. For that case, we will have to write the code for each and every column, for A column, for B column, until F column. Now, the chances of the errors are very frequent. As you can see, in 12th line, we have made a mistake. Instead of minus 999, we have written minus 8 minus 989. So these kind of the errors are very difficult to identify in this kind of the codings. Therefore, what we prefer is we prefer using functional programming approach. Now, let us look at an example where we can do this stuff with the help of a function. Let us write a function with the name of fix missing. It's a function which takes x into account, and then all we are doing is we are first of all identifying the values which are minus 999 and then replacing them with the NA, and then in the end we are returning the same thing. So now we have created a function, we run it, and we can apply this function on different columns. For example, let's do this on the first column like this, missing $df$A, like this. Now suppose that we have to run this on all of the columns. What we can do is we can replicate the same function for all of the columns. As we can see, minus 999 has been replaced with NAs. But again, this is not the right way of doing this. There can be much more efficient ways of doing this. Although we are using the functions, but using functions along with the other functionalities, for example, apply family of functions that we will be exploring in the later parts, are more efficient ways of doing this. Like this. So here we have an example that uses lapply function. It's a function that we are going to study. You don't need to pay focus on the syntax for these kind of things. Here what we do is we write the data frame and then the function that we have created. And that's all we need to do. What this does is exactly the same thing. It is able to apply this function that we have just created on all of the columns over here. And the result that we will see is that exactly minus 999 has been replaced with the NAs. So this is something that we will be exploring in the later videos. Now, what is our motivation for learning functional programming? Here, we want to accomplish the tasks in as few lines as possible. As we can see earlier, to do the same thing, that is, to replace minus triple nine with NS, we were writing so many lines of codes. But then, here we saw that this can be accomplished in just one line of code. One line of code that can replace all the triple nines with the NAs. So this is the level of the sophistication that we should be aiming for in our codes. And then we want to minimize the chances of the error when we are hard coding the things. So this is something that I would say is hard coding because we're every time saying minus triple nine. So we want to minimize the chances of error by minimizing this kind of the hard coding. And then we also want it to be easy to make any changes in our codes. What happens in the real life projects is that we write the code and then later on we realize that this is something that needs to be changed. So there is a lot of to and fro that keeps on going. So our code should be such that it is very easy to make changes, and doing this kind of the functional programming helps us minimize all these chances. And then we should be able to replicate, we should be able to scale any such thing on any number of the columns that we want. If we want to subset it on some columns, we should be able to do that. If we want to apply that on all of the columns, we should be able to do that. Moving on, I would recommend you to keep these objectives in mind whenever you are coding, and as a result, you will see that the quality of your coding is improving